concepts about the idea of consolation. And since we're a little group, so don't hesitate if something is not clear or something is a problem or you have an objection, just say it and we'll discuss it. So we don't have to wait until quote unquote the end, but at any moment we can examine more or better concepts, since actually there are many concepts that we'll use during this presentation. So, but we don't have to go through all of them as a necessity. It's more how to deal with the concepts and deal with them in a better way rather than necessarily finishing the list. Right. So, yes, Leila?
Yeah, just I created a Google Doc, so I will send it on the Zoom link, on the Zoom conversation right now. So everyone can enter the Google Doc.
Okay, fine. Great. Okay, so the first thing simply about consolation, because it's a word that we use not often thinking what it is, although intuitively we can know. Basically, it comes from Latin, actually the English word, which means consolare, which means con, with, and soothe. So the idea of consolation is a soothing activity, but done by someone else, with. There's a soothing with. Now, is it someone else? Is it with something? It doesn't matter. The idea is that can be with yourself, that consolation is soothing. Now, it's a detail, but at the same time, it's important because it implies that there is something to soothe. What do you soothe in general? It's something that is painful or irritating, something that is creating a very immediate problem. And so maybe you don't solve it. And actually, I think that's important in the idea of consolation. You're not curing, but you're soothing. So it's something, it's a palliative. It's something like you would take an analgesic, a product that would basically make the pain lighter, less heavy, less painful. And that's a very important aspect of the consolation. When the mommy consoles the child who hurt himself, she does not pretend at that moment to cure. I mean, she can cure, she can do something from a medical standpoint, which would be to cure, but she's not pretending to cure. She just wants to make you feel better, thinking mommy's here, for example, and you address the moral aspect of the pain, that maybe if mommy's with you, mommy's holding you, you will feel better. So a consolation has no pretension to cure. It has pretension simply to make the pain lighter, or make you maybe forget the pain. It's one way to make the pain lighter is to make you forget the pain, but not to make the pain disappear totally, although it could be a regulatory ideal of the consolation would be to make the pain disappear through this action. But it is not, at least when somebody's worried about death, you console him, you do not pretend in general, although implicitly there might be something like this. You do not want to make death appear. You don't have a cure against death, but simply you're going to do something that makes the pain of death lesser. So consolation is soothing. So two important aspects. First of all, we consider there's a pain. And second, we try to make it less heavy, but not try to cure it. So that's the first important aspect of consolation. Now, I would like to address for a minute what is pain for us human beings, because animals have pain as well. They are sensitive beings, sentient beings. They can have pain, but let's put it in a quick way, they don't really have an idea of consolation. Now, we can always find, when we deal with animals, especially with more evolved animals, we can always try to find certain types of behavior that might look like a consolation, like motherly consolation for little animals, but that would be a little bit too much to project our own type of behavior. So I propose that we examine what tends to be different between animals and human beings. And the main point actually is that animals mainly have physical pain, but we have moral pain. So we do have physical pain as well. We're not deprived of physical pain, but beside the physical pain, we have as well moral pain. Now, we might think that moral pain, the fact we have moral pain would indicate we have more pain than animals, which in a way is true because we have two kinds of pain, although we will see in consolation that because there's moral pain as well, there is such a thing as consolation. Because there's a moral dimension, there is such a thing of consolation, and often, precisely with consolation, our moral capacity tries to do something about our physical pain, and there's sort of interaction between a moral being and our physical being, where the moral self will be used as a way to compensate for the physical pain, try to alleviate the physical pain. Although on the other side, both pains can accumulate. You can have, for example, a physical pain, you are sick, so you have a physical pain, but you can combine with this the moral pain because you are thinking about the consequences of this physical pain. For example, if it's a strong physical pain, you might think of death. So not only you are suffering physically, but you're suffering morally. But this moral pain, therefore, has some ambiguity. It can be both a cause of pain and a cause of soothing. One thing I would like to say about about the moral pain. What is the origin of the moral pain in let's call it a metaphysical way? You have two ingredients of moral pain, I think, which are reason and freedom. Reason and freedom. Well, why reason? Now you have to take reason in the sense, in a wide sense, like in German, you have two words for reason, which is Verstand and Vernunft. In English, you can say that one of them is understanding. Reason as understanding. It has to do with logic. It has to do with giving meaning to things through some logical procedure. So reason here is understood very much in the idea of some rational procedure, or like analysis, synthesis, right, interpretation. But so in that sense, maybe you can claim that it's not really cause of moral pain. But there's a wider concept of reason, which is called Vernunft. And this reason has, we could say, a creative dimension. It's reason as our capacity to go beyond ourselves, to go beyond what is in front of us. It's this reason that involves our creativity, or even imagination in a certain way, although you can look at the opposition there can be between reason and imagination, but still there is an imaginative component within a reason, which is what allows us to make great art, great literature, go on the moon, or whatever it is that human beings invented. And you can say, you can claim that to go on the moon is not simply a product of understanding. That would be a bit reductionist. The understanding allows us to understand, to grasp principles of physics that are tools to go on the moon. But the idea of going to the moon and what's involved in such a project goes beyond mere understanding. There's something. So it's a reason in a much wider sense, wider than often we think of reason, where we tend to think about it, the mere understanding aspect. So why is reason a cause of pain? Is precisely because it opens new spaces where spaces, and as soon as you open something, at the same time, you have a closeness of this space. You can imagine some project you would like to get involved in, and because you imagine a project you can want to be involved in, you can as well have the disappointment of this project not being possible. And that's in that sense that reason can be the product of pain. So, yeah, although it might seem strange at first. So reason can both produce some joy and some pain. And of course, you see then the connection to freedom. Man is free in the sense that he is not totally determined by his immediate being. Animals are born, they have a place to be, they have a way to be, they have an identity, and all they have to do is to be themselves. But human beings are not satisfied with being themselves. And we're not satisfied with being ourselves precisely because we have freedom. We have the possibility or the freedom to be not ourselves. In fact, that's what parents tell the child or ask the child when he's small, what do you want to be when you grow up? We don't imagine tiger parents asking their baby tiger, what do you want to be when you are big? He'll just be a tiger. The dice are cast. It's a given. But we ask our children and we ask ourselves, what will I be? It's not simply what will I do? The expression, often the advantage of words, if we listen to them closer, say things in a very speaking way. We don't ask the child, we can ask the child, what do you want to do when you grow up? But we can ask him, what do you want to be when you grow up? And deciding what you're going to be is an important aspect of the human being. And for example, the idea of bad faith of Sartre is precisely people that are not accepting this human dimension, this free human dimension, where we decide who we are, we decide what we will be, and we will construct our existence, but we pretend in a way like animals, there are things that are done that we don't have to decide, that everything is already decided. Anything at that point, we're cowardly, trying not to see that freedom. But of course, there's a reason why we prefer that things are given. There's a reason why we prefer not to think about what we could be, because it can be painful because it's not coming quick, or it's not coming at all, or it will never come. If I want to be Batman at a certain age, I can tell, I can dream about it when I'm a child, think maybe, but at a certain age, you have to give up on what you would have liked to be or want to be. and there's some kind of disappointment. Yeah. So the idea then, the two concepts, to finish on the little part, that create pain in the human being is for one reason, and for one and the other, freedom, although they're not radically distinct one from the other, because in a way, reason is what gives you that freedom. But still, there are two different concepts, although they are being related. They're related. So I've already outlined it a little bit while speaking about freedom and reason, but what are the causes of this moral pain, which in human being? Well, I would say basically there are three forms of pain. One you can call worrying or fear, worrying or fear. Because we have freedom and reason, we can think about the future. And we can think, of course, about the future as a great place where all kind of wonderful things will happen. But I would say naturally, and even often in a way that's not natural because it happens in excess, we have worries of fear, because so many things can happen. You can go in the street and at any moment, a car can run you over. When you, every day in life, you can think that robbers will come in your house and steal what you have. You can think that your spouse will betray you. You can think that your children will die. Because we have reason, we have an immense capacity of inventing, of making horror movies, you know? And often notice that people replace reason or thinking by worrying. Worrying is a very popular activity for human beings, to the extent that they easily replace thinking by worrying, and the fear that comes with it. And basically, what does it mean to worry? It means to think primarily about the bad things that could happen. First of all, think primarily about bad things that could happen. And second, to overestimate. And in that sense, it is a bit counter to reason. It's not rational and not reasonable to overplay or overestimate the bad things that could happen, right? And therefore create fear in our heart. So worrying and fear is the first main cause of pain. The second main cause of pain, and we've seen it, but I again want to make here a clear, distinguished concept with it, is desire. Desire or expectation, right? It comes to the same thing. Because we have freedom and reason, of course, animals have desire too. They want to satisfy their needs, and they want to satisfy their biological needs, but their desires, expectations are limited to satisfying immediate biological needs. They want to feed themselves, they want to protect themselves through some home or whatever they use to protect themselves, or they want to reproduce, basically the three basic needs that animals have: feed themselves, protect themselves, and reproduce. But because we have reason and freedom, we have many more needs that we invent or we learn. A very simple one is our image, our reputation, the way we're perceived, the judgment of the surrounding, We have a strong desire to have a good image, a nice image, or you want to be loved, or we want to have power, or we want to have fame. So we construct those expectations. Now, at the same time, I don't want to simply give a negative idea about desires and expectation, because, and that's the whole point of human existence, that those desires and expectations at the same time construct us. They construct us, and they make who we are. So they're at the same time some kind of necessity that we in our being. Although the Buddhists have an interesting distinction they make between desire and thirst, which basically could be between desire and need. To have desire can be a motivation, can be an incentive. You want to get something. The question is, when this desire becomes a need, and then it becomes painful because it's a form of addiction. You don't think you can live without it. So you lose your freedom. You lose the necessary distance. And then you start believing that your life is impossible without this particular desire. For example, I need to be recognized. And you might construct something very excessive where you think something is such a need that if you don't have it, you suffer. So you create this suffering. So the idea of desire and expectation is something that both is a component of human existence, but because as well it produces pain in us because we don't have it. And the third concept derives from this, which is frustration and disappointment. The main difference between frustration and disappointment is more something temporal. Frustration is I'm not getting it, or I'm not getting it quick enough. But it's still some hope of getting it. Disappointment is more like it's finished. That's it. You didn't get it. It's a past. So there's no hope anymore, or you don't think you can get it anymore. It's too late. So disappointment is I wanted something, I did not get it. When frustration is more I am not getting it yet, or not getting it quick enough. The other one, no, the game is game over. I did not get it. Right? So basically, most pain of human being is organized around these three concepts. We worry, we have fear of what could happen. We want something to happen. We expect something to happen. And it is not happening, or not happening quick enough, and we're disappointed. If you look at most of the moral pain in human beings, it rotates around these concepts. And all the sad passions that Spinoza speaks about, which deprive us of being, which limit our power of being, are very connected to that. For example, sadness, shame, it's just different, or anger, it's just different formulation, different emotional colors of this problem. For example, anger, I want something very strongly, yes, so I have this desire, but I have the frustration because I feel powerless to get it. So I get angry. I could get sad. Sides of the same coin. You're sad because you're depressed, and anger is the manic aspect of it. So people who are into these modes, sadness and anger are two different modalities of the same issue. Right? So shame is the social dimension of something that you would like to be, but you cannot be, and society tells you you are not that, and therefore you are not good. But it's just a more complex construction of desire and the disappointment of not getting that desire through social consideration of this desire and the frustration of it. Same with envy. Envy, I want something, motivated by the fact other people have it. So again, it's another combination of desire and social life. But basically, you can reduce any problem to these three concepts: worries, expectation, and frustration, disappointment. Right. Now, the only thing as well is that desire is something that we do not control, we do not master. It's, because we are free, our desire is infinite. And in that sense, one can have a desire that is infinite, because even when it makes object, it can make new object. There's an infinite power of representation of desire. Now, the interesting thing again with the human being is that here I described it in a, let's call it a rather negative way. But as well, this infinite desire can be the infinity of an ideal I would like to reach, a regulatory ideal, like, for example, to be moral. To be moral as a pure morality is an impossibility, because necessarily, because of the reality of the self, the reality of the world, you will never reach this total morality. And same with the idea of the divine or transcendence. We fabricate some primary reality, like God, for example, and which is the power of our reason. But as a byproduct, as a feedback from the production of this ideal, we will see how little we are, how unsatisfying our existence is, and therefore how we can view yourself as being very miserable, very little, very insignificant. So we see all the time that there's this back and forth between the power we have of fabricating something big, beautiful, infinite, and at the same time, because of this, not be on the level, not be what we should be in relation to this fabrication. Okay. And because of this, we have an important concept which is called the fracture of being. The fracture of being is basically a tension between what we are and what we would like to be, between some immediate self, or being in itself, and the being for itself, what our conscience or our consciousness would like us to be able to be, a sort of tension between finite and infinite. And that's often both, again, what allows us to exist, what makes us be, what creates existence, what gives us a drive to be, because the human life is something you have to constitute, but at the same time, the pain that can derive from this desire to exist. So these are basically, that was a description of the pain. I have finished that part about describing human pain, because unless you understand the pain, you cannot understand the consolation, right? so you're first to see the pain. So I'm going to start now going through the different forms of consolation. But before I go on the different form of consolation, I don't know if someone has a question or a comment or something about what I said about the causes of human pain. If that's the case, just say it, or everything is fine with you. No? Okay, or you're sitting down comfortably. Yes, Luca, go ahead.
Well, I had a question. Something is not clear when you were describing in the last 2 minutes the fracture of the self. You were talking about the being in itself and the being for itself. I don't understand this. Maybe I missed something. I don't know.
Well, the being in itself, it's a distinction that you find in German critical philosophy, is the idea that you are what you are in yourself. Yes. And like an object, you define yourself as an object. Yeah. And the idea being for itself, that means you have dedoubling of the being. He has a relationship to himself. Generally, it implies, the way it's used, it implies consciousness. It implies that you can be two. There's you, there's the I, and the me, right? The being in itself, actually, there's no I. There's just a me. There's a product. Me is the object. Yeah. When you speak about me, it's like you speak about him. It's a pure object. That's sometimes people describe it this way. There is me. That's it. That's the way I am. And when you introduce a subject, you introduce the I. There's no subject in the me. Me is an object. A subject, in fact, the child, initially, since you have a baby, well, maybe, I don't know, he doesn't speak enough yet, but he'll speak himself in the third person. He'll say, Johnny wants. And when he grows up, he'll learn to say I. I mean, of course, there's already an intuition in a human being of some kind of thing of the I. But to say I, to use the word I, implies that you determine yourself as a subject, and therefore, as a subject, you're the cause of something. The subject is a cause. Yeah? So you're a cause of the action. So if you're only an object, you are, that's all. And when you introduce the I, you introduce a dialectical relationship between the I as a subject and me as an object. Does that answer your question?
Yes, it does. Thanks.
Something else? No? Oh, yes, Isabelle?
Yes, at one moment you bring the idea of bad faith by Sartre, but I didn't make the link with the consolation.
Well, right now, I was not in consolation, I was in pain. Consolation is coming. You're going to have to suffer a bit more, because before you have consolation, I was describing the pain precisely to echo what I was telling Luca. When you say, for example, I am a professor, that's me. You describe yourself as a me. You're not a subject. You are a product, and that product is who I am. And there's no subject, so there's no freedom. And Sartre says that's bad faith, because you eliminate the subject. You eliminate the transcendence of the me, which is the I. And the I is free. The idea could decide that you're something else than a professor. So in a way, you're not a professor. You act as a professor at a given moment, but there is a dimension of yourself that is outside, that transcends this professor. So the bad faith is pretending that I am me, yeah, and not make this association between the I and the me that is necessary to construct deliberately, willfully your own existence.
Mm-hmm. Okay. All right.
You understand?
I understand.
Yes? Okay.
Yes.
Good.
Yeah.
Anything else? No? Good. Okay. So now, what I will now do is go through different forms of consolation that we make up as a human species, make up for ourselves. Identified about 19 types of consolation. Yes, okay. The first one is the hope. You know, when you tell people you have a problem, sometimes they tell you it will be better. And in fact, they even predict to you everything will be fine, which is very ambitious. And people say everything will be fine, which is obvious, it's wishful thinking, but for some reason it must work because we do say such thing. Everything will be fine. So here is the idea of a future. That's a very undetermined future because we're not telling you why. I mean, you could say it will be fine because, it will be better because. But if you notice, very often there's no because. It's just a pure act of faith. And why not? I mean, it's not forbidden. I mean, you can think that in the future everything will be worse. If you're a worrier, you think the future is the cause of terrible things. You think that the future will prove that you are right, that life is a horror movie. Why not? So I describe that as a cause of pain. But nothing stops you from thinking on the opposite, that the future will provide you with an avenue of roses. The future will be great. In French, we have an expression, les lendemains qui chantent, the tomorrows that sing. So it's a freedom. And since it's a pure act of faith, I mean, faith, you decide what you want to believe in a way. And why not? I mean, to think that tomorrow everything will be fine is a very nice, I mean, you can laugh at it, saying, oh, this is ridiculous. There's no particular, no reason to think so. But don't forget, the consolation is not about curing. It's about alleviating the pain. So if you have pain and you want to believe that you have a disease, that tomorrow you'll be better, why not? Nothing. So in all this, you can be critical because it doesn't fit reason, but it works. Like kicking your car to make it function, why not? So anyway, so the future, the hope, because the real name of it is hope, is a typical kind of a consolation, a very common one. Yes, consolation through the future. So each time I will before I move to the next one, I'll check if there's any problem, because I'm going to move to the next one. So any problem with the future as consolation? Okay, fine. So let's go on. Now, as a purely logical move, if the future can be a consolation, you have its counterpart, the past, as consolation. Now, if some people, the future cannot be a consolation, they have the past. This is called nostalgia. Now, I know for some people, they just don't get it. Like future people, I call them the anxious people, the people who want to project in the future, they have a hard time understanding how nostalgia can be a consolation. But for a number of people, in fact, you have this when you hear your grandfather or retired people or old people they say, now life is not so good. I have my arthritis. I cannot do what I want anymore. I feel lonely. My future looks a bit bleak. Yeah. But when I was young, when I was in the army, when I was a child, with my grandmother by the river making me apple pie, how things were wonderful. You can call it a form of intoxication, but it can console you. And why not? there's an idea of Eckhart which says that what you have lived, what you have gone through in the past never leaves you, right? So if you have known a great moment, a great love story in your past, and in fact, we see this with love stories, people still remember that great love story. Then there's a question, how do you use it? Do you use that great love story to show how bad it is now and how you don't have this great love story anymore? But you can use it in the reverse to say that great love story is still here. I had this great love moment when I was a teenager, and or there was a moment of glory in your life. You got Nobel Prize, a few years ago. Now, no more this year, but you got it. So you put it in you put this Nobel Prize in your living room, and you can say, I am happy because I had this great moment in my life, and this great moment is here forever. You live out of your past glories. So I hope with all these different examples, people reconcile with the idea of nostalgia. And this nostalgia can be legitimate. If you've done something good in your past and you have good memory of it, why not think this is the culmination of your existence, this is a symbol of your existence, this is the climax of your existence, and it can, when you retire in France, they calculate your retirement on the basis of the best earning you had in your life. You can do the same and think the meaning of your life or the value of your life is determined by the best years of your life, and think that that's what makes it. Why not? Okay, so that's the idea of consolation. So even though you're suffering because of your physical condition, you can console yourself through this nostalgia. So I finished for nostalgia. So does anybody have a problem with nostalgia before I move to the next? Yes, Isabelle, you're not nostalgic. Okay, go ahead.
No. Yeah, I'm thinking based on what you said, how nostalgia can be consolation, because usually people who are in nostalgia, they are more in regrets. So how regrets, can it be a consolation?
Okay, well, let me see. So I don't do all the work. Does somebody want to answer Isabelle on this problem of the relationship between nostalgia and regret? Does anybody want to deal with it? You raise your hand. Okay, all right. Okay, Marius, go ahead.
I see the regrets as the form of pain. So the cause of the regrets causing the pain that goes before then the consolation. Then you come up with all those reasons that, yeah, I've been good, I've been a good soldier in the war, I've been whatever. And with that one, you try to deal with the regrets. Indeed.
Yeah, but how do you articulate here the regret and the positive side of nostalgia? How do you make them work together? Or do you oppose them?
I equate the regrets with the pain. That would be the cause of the
yeah. Okay, but suppose I was great 10 years ago. I'm not. That implies I'm not great anymore, right?
Correct.
So that's what Isabelle calls regret. I am not great anymore. I was great 10 years ago, right?
Agree.
Okay. And nostalgia is to say, oh, I was great 10 years ago, and I'm happy of this. So what's the difference of dynamic? Can you say?
Well, then I don't see necessarily the way it connects the regret with creating a pleasurable very regrettable feeling.
Okay. Leila, you want to try it?
Yes, well, you can find some comfort by thinking about the past that can make you deal better with what's happening in the present.
Okay, but what's the relationship with regret? What's the dynamic between them?
Well, if you regret something, it means that at one point it was good.
Yeah, but regret is about now. I don't have any more, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so how do you articulate the regret? How does it work, the dynamic? Regret, because Isabelle is saying, well, when you don't have any more, you have regret. So how does this nostalgia function? You don't know.
Well, because I distinguish nostalgia from regret.
Yeah, I think everybody does.
Oh, okay.
The question is, they have something in common. It's the relationship to the past, right?
Yes, yes, yes.
So how do you articulate them together? You put them together, you oppose them, how do you do it?
No, I rather oppose them.
Okay, what's the difference?
Yes, well, regret is the connection between the past and the present. You wish that the past was happening now.
Okay.
And in nostalgia, it only focuses on the present, on the past, sorry. So
Okay.
there is no connection to the present.
There's no connection to the present. But at the same time, you are in the present when you have nostalgia, right?
Yes.
So
yes.
what happens with the present when you're in nostalgia?
You think about the previous good times.
Yes.
So, yeah.
And
so it's more. I would say it's more something passive. Well, regret is more active. In nostalgia, it's more passive.
Well, do you think it comes by itself to think about nostalgia, or you have to do something?
You have to think. You just have to think.
Okay. Anybody else has an intuition on that?
Yes. Hello, this is Miranda.
Who?
Miranda. Yes, I somehow logged in with some ID.
Hold on a second. Are you a person that doesn't show herself?
Yes.
Can you show yourself?
I don't think that's possible. Let me 1 second.
And as well, are you AF16089? That sounds like a. I was wondering if it was a robot.
No, 1 second.
Okay, that's
I
better.
had something on my camera, but
it's fine. It's fine. And can you put a name that doesn't look like a robot? You know how
I don't know how. No.
You go on participants, you will see your name, and then you will see you can do renaming.
Yeah.
You see? Yeah, that's better. And where are you, Smaranda?
In Romania.
In Romania. Okay, fine. So now we listen to you. We have a real human being. So to speak about regret, go ahead.
Okay, so I have a guess here about the regrets. Since we initiated the discussion now with my identity and my name, now I regret that I didn't put this from the beginning. So I think that regrets can be amended in the future or in the present. You regret something from the past and you acknowledge that and you can change that now.
You cannot, right?
You can.
You can.
You can in similar situations based on past experiences.
Wait, I don't understand. When you have regret about what happened in the past, can you change the past or no?
You cannot change the past, but you...
Wait, there's no rush. Don't worry. I know time is money, but here, no. It's fine, okay? So let's go slowly, okay? So you agree, you cannot change it. It's done, right?
Yep.
So your regret is you say, I didn't do this, I should have done it, something like that, right?
Correct.
Okay. So what's the difference between this and nostalgia? Or what happens? What's the difference between them?
I think that from regrets, you can change something in the present experiences or in the
Okay.
future experiences.
But if you do, we're not in nostalgia anymore. You are into changing the present, you see? So you're not relating to nostalgia anymore. You're into doing something in the present. When nostalgia doesn't do that. So you're discussing something else. You notice?
Yes, but
We
then
want the relationship. We don't want a relationship between regret and having no regrets, but the relationship between regret and nostalgia. But if you do something, you're doing something in the present, that's something else. Do you understand why?
yes, but well, in this case, no.
Smaranda. Are you always in a rush like that?
Yes.
Yes, no, don't, because see, for thinking, if you want to pass the vacuum cleaner or things like this, or cook, that's fine, but not, or not even cooking, but shopping, but not here. See, because it seems to me you're not dealing with the issue, which is relationship between nostalgia and regret. You're going on something else, which is doing something now. But here, no, we're simply in thought experiment. Yeah. Do you understand what I'm saying or no?
I think I understand. You're asking about the relationship between the regrets and the nostalgia.
Okay, go ahead.
And both are related to something in the past, to the past.
So far, so good.
Okay, but nostalgia, it's something that you are not thinking that can be changed.
Well, no, because you like it. It's good. Nostalgia here, I use it as a positive thing. Something great happened to me 10 years ago. I had a great love story, so I don't want to change it. I have a good memory from it.
But if you have regrets about the past love story, that you can change.
What? You mean I'm going to do something else now?
Yes, or the regret itself.
Okay, how do I change the regret? How do I do this?
By finding different reasons for what happened, and then you don't regret it anymore.
Okay, but then you rationalize. You give reasons. You give reasons for what you regret, yeah? You rationalize it.
Correct.
Yeah, but then it's not nostalgia. You're starting to reason. You're speaking about something else. Okay.
Yes, but I'm not.
Twice, Marana. The problem, you go too quick, and so each time you shift away from the specific problem. Do you notice or no? Okay, visibly not. Well, look, Smaranda, do you think I am wrong when I tell you that you shift away from the focus? Do you think I'm wrong or right? Okay, you think I'm wrong, fine. Okay, who thinks Smaranda is focused on exactly the problem? Raise your hand. So raise your hand, Smaranda, because you think you are. Well, raise your hand, don't worry, it's part of, okay. Who thinks Smaranda is not focusing on the problem? Raise your hand. Okay, you see the hands up, Smaranda? Yeah? Now, do you think it's a plot against you because they're my friends or something, or you think it's real?
I think it's real, but let's
okay,
see.
Fine, don't say but. Just fine. Just see, if you want to come here, work with us, see, you have to learn. I'm sure you're very opinionated. I'm sure you have arguments. I'm sure you like fighting with people and get your arguments through. But here, no, that's not our job. Our job is to ensure we're focused, okay? But don't worry, it's okay. It's the first time you come, I think. I've never seen it before. It will come, don't worry. But just patience, right? Okay? You patient?
Okay.
Are you patient?
Yes, I'm patient now.
Now, yes. Okay. We'll see. Okay, fine. All right. So let me propose then to move on with this, is what I propose to you. See, your past, you decide what you can look at in your past. And all of us, we have things we can regret, and we have things that we can enjoy, right? And that's a choice, or you can tell me you're determined. So some people decide they want more than what they've had. The people that want more than what they had, they are in the regrets because they didn't get it. Okay? The people that rather make a choice of being fine with themselves and not wanting so much, they're going to make the choice of nostalgia, because we all have things in our past we can be happy about and things we can be not happy about. So it's a choice of what you're going to focus on. You want to focus on what you didn't get, and maybe, as Miranda said, you're going to try to get it now, or you want to focus on what you had and you want to maintain forever this thing that you had because you think it's great, beautiful, it makes you happy. Does that answer your question, Isabel?
Okay, I get the point. Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
Leila, are
So
you smoking or raising your... Oh, so you finished, Isabel?
yeah, just so if I get your point, it's how finally you deal with it.
It's not how you deal with it. It's what you relate to.
What you relate to.
Yeah,
Okay.
or how you relate to your past. You see?
Okay, all right.
No,
yeah.
Okay. You decide and don't decide, because some people that want a lot from their life, they'll have a hard time being nostalgic because they're more, they're still worried about the future. Nostalgic people are saying, you know, it doesn't matter what happens now. I had this great thing and I'm happy with it. Yeah. So I'll sit by the lake and remember the good old days. Yeah. So they want nothing more. Yeah. But the people that want something, they'll be in regret because, oh my God, I got that and I didn't get it. And either they feel frustrated or they are going to try to get it now.
Okay. Yeah.
Get it?
Okay.
Huh? Now, you can decide that or not decide. I leave that to each one, because if you're in a regret, it's hard to be nostalgic. So how much it's natural, how much you can do something about it. But it's what you choose to look at. Good?
Yeah. Okay. All right. It's good. Yeah.
Or
Let's
how
think
you
about
decide to think of the past. We're good?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, it's good. Yeah.
Good. You okay with that, Smaranda?
Yes, I'm okay.
All right, good. Okay. So, nothing else but nostalgia? No? We're good? Okay, we're going to move to the next concept. But I warned you, see, it goes slow, but it doesn't matter. We won't look at all the concepts. Okay. The third one, I call it inscription in reality. Inscription in reality. Now, it might be a bit abstract, but each time I'm going to find you a way, a common way by which we use that, mommy uses that, or daddy or the friends use that, you know? For example, somebody has a love drama, right? And and that person is saying, oh my God, it's terrible. And what do we tell them? We say, that's life, or that's love, that's life, right? Well, what can you do? And we console people by saying, look, it's reality, or you're going to die. Well, my friend, everything dies, right? We have this quick-made philosophical remark. It's not false. It can be used a bit in a cheap way, but which basically we say that's the way things are, right? Now, the idea that's the way things are, of course, it doesn't cure, but I said earlier that the function of consolation not to cure, but make you feel better. But of course, if that's the way life is, I mean, you can feel better about it because it means everybody has it. And already if everybody has it, you feel a bit better. It means you could not have done anything about it because everybody is bound to have a love drama. Nobody ever, I think, I might be wrong, but had love without some kind of drama in love. So you cannot avoid it. And if you cannot avoid it, you cannot suffer. You might still suffer, but you're supposed to suffer less because it was unavoidable. And that's what I call inscription in reality. Anybody has a question about inscription in reality? Or that one is no problem. Okay, fine. So let's move on. Yeah. Okay. Fourth one is modify expectatives, yes, or modify your desires. When somebody suffers because he doesn't get what he wants, the typical way is by saying, well, maybe you should give up on wanting that. Maybe you want too much. Maybe you think too much about what you want, right? So the idea is to modify your desire. It's sort of, again, you find this in some basic wisdom. You say, you're making yourself unhappy by having all these desires and expectation. If you modify your desire and expectation, you will suffer less. So here you go at the root of the pain, which is the fact that you, as we described at the beginning, is because you expect that you suffer, expect less, you will suffer less. In a way, you can say in a quick way that without expectation, there would be no suffering. I mean, I'm speaking, of course, the moral dimension of suffering. If you have no expectation, you will not suffer. But of course, you'll tell me that it's impossible not to have expectation if this expectation is only to catch the bus that I want to catch to go to work in the morning. Yeah. So modify expectation as consolation. That one I think is easy, but still, anybody has a problem with it? Or it gives you some idea about it? No? Fine. Doesn't inspire you? Yeah, it's not the most exciting one, but it's still real. Okay, fifth is giving meaning. You want to say something, Lara? Yeah?
About modifying desires. I think in Moscow it doesn't work because we are very greedy here. Business people are very
right.
Yeah, then it won't work with them. Yeah.
Well, it won't work. I think it can work. Now, these consolations never work necessarily. It can work. That's all. Actually, when you do a consultation, or when you speak to a friend, you try to find which consolation might work. Of course, if you're discussing with your greedy businessman and tell him to modify expectation because that makes him suffer, okay, maybe it's not going to work. And maybe if he's getting old and tired, maybe he will learn he should, in fact, give up. I don't know. But indeed, maybe you will have to find something else. Yeah. But never think of a consolation as something that works absolutely and necessarily. Yeah, okay. Different type of consolation that works. There was one I will use later on for your Moscow businessmen. What they like to do is they do sport. See, they use their body as a way to console themselves. I'll have this as one of the further consolation, and they do it naturally. They will do sport, and you ask them, why do you do so much sport? And they like to do sport is because I stop thinking. And what do they mean by stop thinking is I stop worrying. And why do I mean by stop worrying? I mean I stop having all this expectation and frustration in my mind. Yeah. So sports or drinking, yeah, as well, functions rather well, might be a better way. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
Or running, jogging. Yeah.
Yes. A lot of people do sports for that, to stop thinking, which means to stop worrying. All right. But anyway, any consolation can work within a certain context and to a certain extent, not as an absolute. Yeah, Marius?
Comment about if the consolations work. Actually, many times they work the other way around and make the person even more angry when you propose, like, change your expectations or tell them you're gonna die.
Yes.
Many times they work just the other way around. So consolation, as you said, it's not a way to resolve the problem, but a proposition,
right,
which might turn, as I said, the opposite.
Do you know why? It's interesting, your remark that it might work the opposite. And we see this sometimes. We try to console someone and we tell them something, they get angry about this consolation, or we somebody's console us, we find it very irritating. Have you noticed why certain can create irritation of anger in a person? Did you notice why?
Well, might be a few reasons. One of them is that maybe they don't get their attention. They cannot victimize and become victims. Therefore, they don't get what they want, the attention. Otherwise,
can you something specific about the type of consolation? Why certain? Yeah, the general thing is people want to say victim, but why certain specific consolations create aversive reactions? Do you know?
Maybe it comes as sort of a confirmation of something they don't want. They had an intuition, but they didn't want to hear.
Right. Yes. For example, suppose you have a bad business venture, and I come and I pat you on the head, say, Marius, everything will be fine. Would you be happy at me?
It's not allowed to show you the finger.
Yes, but I know it's an absurd example, but why would that make you unhappy? I imagine it would make you unhappy. Why?
Well, there is irony in it. It might be irony that might be.
Okay, Marius, suppose it's real. I'm doing it for real. I'm your mother, yeah? Okay? Yeah. I'm your mother. No irony. Mothers don't do irony, but I say, Marius, everything will be fine. Why would that one bother you, for example?
Well, it would be a confirmation that, well, I'm quite bad.
Okay, exactly. See, and that's a classical one. When we have pain, because we're bad. So any sign given to you, which in your representation would show you're bad, works exactly counter to the consolation. And that's why many people don't understand why they're consolation. It confirms in the person the fact is not good, which is the cause of the pain. Yes. Okay.
Yeah.
You want to add something?
No. Okay. I'm fine.
Lara, you want to say something?
Yes, I wanted to propose that when we say to console somebody, we say that he is impotent or he cannot change anything by this. For example,
right. Yes.
Change your desires or everything will be okay. He cannot change.
Well, everything will be okay doesn't tell you you're impotent, because everything will be okay is a promise that things will go the way you want. So you're not declared impotent.
Okay, yeah, here no, but yeah.
So the example before, when you mother someone, given the feeling, that he's being mothered, so feeling that he's impotent, then he might get upset. Yeah,
mm-hmm.
I guess it depends the way you say everything will be okay. If you look like you're behaving like someone's mom, yes, indeed. Yeah. All right. You're good?
Yeah.
Okay, fine. All right, so let's move on to the next one. Give meaning. Give meaning. Okay, that one's a little bit more subtle, but one way we deal with our pain is by giving meaning to that pain. I'll give you a classical example, which is in a religious context, where, for example, somebody's suffering, but it's going to say that's our function in life, to suffer, and afterwards we go to paradise. So, okay, there's a future dimension, but still the meaning of the suffering is expiation of our sins. It means to expiate our sins. And if my suffering is to expiate my sins, therefore, or same, I did something wrong and I suffer from it, and I can say it's punishment. Punishment is a way of meaning, because the punishment goes with fault. And by viewing something as a punishment, therefore I give meaning to my pain, because it comes together with something I have done that is wrong. Don't forget meaning, the meaning of meaning, if I may say, is connection, is to connect. So by giving meaning to something, you find connection to something else. So something that looks meaningless, it's painful because it's meaningless because it has no connection to anything. But if I connect it to something else, then it has meaning and then it is less painful. Anything about giving meaning as consolation? Yes, Isabelle.
Can you say as well, like if you say, yeah, it shows that I'm a human being, because I see so many people acting in a very bad way. So by suffering, it gives meaning, and it's kind of.
Yeah,
So,
but here you are a little bit, it's going back into inscription of reality. But it's true that giving meaning and inscription in reality, when you say it's human, yes, okay. I mean, they sort of overlap, inscription in reality and giving meaning. But here, that one here is human. It's more like, well, that's human being. But okay, it's still giving meaning at the same time. Yeah. Yeah. Anything else? No? We're good? Okay, fine. By the way, these consolations that I'm giving, yes, they're not clear-cut, distinct. You know, they can overlap. There's just different angles to look at things, but they might overlap. Like in this case here, it's the overlapping of inscription and reality and giving meaning. And it's true, they have something in common. The thing that there might be distinction in reality has a broader, more universal kind of, that's the way it is, but meaning as a more specific, private or particular sense. Yes. Okay, fine. Okay, so next one is put words. Put words. Yeah. Words, language, being a form of writing, of speaking, is an important form of consolation. We find this, for example, in the complaint. Why we like to complain of pain, it starts with just simply say, ouch, to saying, to going to someone you know, close to you, say, oh my God, I hurt myself, or wow, this guy at work, he was horrible with me, and you alleviate the pain by speaking. In fact, the one of the first way to call psychoanalysis was called the talking cure. Yeah, the talking cure. Yeah, so speech is an important form, or writing. If you write poetry or your diary, and you say all the bad things happening to you, in a way, confession has something similar, or going to a bar with friends. Speech, putting words on things, has a cathartic effect. It's sort of a purge upon the pain that you might have. So putting words, using words. Anything about that? No comment. Yes, Marius?
Actually, it sounds very much like giving meaning, because by putting words, you just convert a sort of pre-thought into a real thought. You give it almost a meaning, as you said, because without words, it almost remains as a pre-thought.
But do you see some moments where I use words, but it's not about meanings? Do you see, or no?
Yes, when even it's possible that you have it already clear and you just verbalize it.
Okay. No, what you can say words, and it's not about meaning at all. For example, I give you the example of ouch. When I say ouch, why distinguish instinctively, we're going to say something, yeah? But a little bit more sophisticated, I'm going to say, I suffer because somebody hit me, and I'm going to tell, I'm not giving meaning. I'm only describing what happened, right? So yes, meaning can be a form of putting words, and it alleviates. But as well, and in fact, a lot of times, words is not so much about meaning, it's more about telling. And telling is a simple description, but not meaning. If I start giving explanation, giving a cause, then I have meaning. But if I simply tell, there is no meaning.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay with that? Yeah. Yeah, I communicate the thing, but I don't give added meaning to the event. Yeah. You good?
Hello.
Yeah. Who's speaking?
Hello, Denisa. Yeah.
Denisa, can you put the camera on? So we don't speak from a voice from in the grave. Yes, congratulations. Tell us.
I would have a question about giving meaning.
Okay.
If you can just say to us some examples, I couldn't quite understand. I mean, I understood about like a punishment, that would be a meaning, but other examples?
Well, you see, for example, when you say, well, who would have an example for Denisa of counseling oneself by giving meaning to some pain? Yeah, so
yes.
Go ahead.
Maybe karma will be a good example. If you have a failure, for example, you can say, oh, it's karma. I think I did something bad in my past.
Okay. Okay, so but it's a little bit close to punishment, but not exactly punishment. Do you understand, Denisa, the concept of karma?
No,
if you don't, you don't.
I wouldn't assume it was related to meaning.
No, Denisa, I'm asking you a question. Do you understand the concept of karma or no?
I don't know.
Okay, no, well, if you don't know, you say no. You see, when you don't know, if you don't know, then no, I don't understand. Who has another example of meaning? Consolation through giving meaning. Yeah, Isabel, go ahead.
For example, someone has has an accident and he stays at the hospital for 1 month and he starts thinking about it. So he said, when I'm going out of the hospital, I will do something with my life. So you give meaning to your pain. So it's allow you to accept it more and to give something.
Okay, Denisa, you understood that one?
Oh, yes.
Yes, okay. Meaning means you make a connection. In this case, Isabel made a connection between you staying in the hospital in Pleasant to something you will get from it. Yeah?
Okay.
We tell people, take your medication, they're not good, but you will feel better. You make connection. See, think of meaning as making connections to anything. And then the pain gets less because you connect it to something else, which might come out of it.
Okay.
Okay, good?
Yes, thanks.
Now, this is a practical meaning. Others are more metaphysical meanings, or they're different kind of meanings, but basically it means you connect to something else, all right? Anybody has a different example of meaning as consolation? Yes, Shiro?
Like what we say, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger.
Okay, so can you explain what is the significance of this as a consolation?
By giving meaning, is saying something bad happened to me, but I didn't get hurt. I managed to survive. So the outcome is I become stronger. So you should give a positive meaning to something bad that has happened to you.
Okay. Here again, we have a practical result. We stick, but it's a form of meaning, is a practical consequence. Yeah. Good.
Okay.
Anybody has a meaning which is not a practical consequence? Yeah, Leila?
Well, if I'm suffering, then I feel alive.
Yeah,
So
okay.
I give the meaning of being alive
Okay,
as part of suffering.
okay. You understand that one? Denisa, when you're suffering, well, you can tell, good, at least I'm alive.
Yes, yes.
Good?
Thanks.
Yeah. Are you in Romania?
Yes.
You know, in Romania, do you have the expression, it's better to get this, it's better to get this than to get a broken leg. You know, I don't know, you lose money and somebody tells you it's better to lose money than to get a broken leg. Yeah? Okay,
Yes.
well, that it might sound a bit stupid, but it's a form of meaning. Yeah? Yeah? You connect this to not getting a broken leg. Yeah?
Mm-hmm.
Strange logic, but that's the way it works. Good?
Yeah, thank you.
All right. Okay. All right, good. So on meaning, nothing more? Okay. So, oh yeah, no, I was already past putting words. Okay, seventh is to give value to pain. To give value to pain, yeah? Now, of course, right away we can think of in the Christian world, value as pain for in itself, starting with even God was in pain as a way to save, but independently of the religious connotation, or we had it as well, the value of pain given by the Nietzschean idea of Shira as well. When you have pain, it can make you stronger. Yeah. So when you have pain, or father tells his son, suffer, you become a man, right? So the poor boy who is suffering from getting hit by his friends, father say, you become a man. So you give, it's a form of meaning, but a specific form where you give value specifically to the pain. Yeah, the pain has value in itself. Pain is viewed from now on as something positive. There's a transvaluation of pain. I mean, you shift the connotation of pain from negative to positive. So the valuing of pain. Anybody has another example of valuing pain? No? You know, some, yeah, Isabel, go ahead.
Yes, I was thinking when, you know, in some tribes or even in, when some kids, if you said, if you want to be a man, so you have to go through some different exercise.
Right.
And typical, and then this value is so you become a man, you become an adult.
Yeah, it's called initiation. And in most initiations, there is pain involved, yeah? Because it's considered that pain has humanizing, as a humanizing value, yes? But as well, you know, there's a pathology, a phenomenon where people make themselves sick. They literally, not just an invention, they make themselves sick psychologically because through this disease, they will have value. Yeah? So being sick, which is a form of pain, can give you value because the disease has a valuing power on yourself. Yeah. Okay, good. Okay, so let's move on. Okay, then there is the reverse. There is valuing pain, then exactly the reverse, which is devaluing pain. When you're in pain, you will devalue, saying this pain is not important, this pain is secondary, this pain is insignificant. Yeah? You will take away the value from the pain. Well, let me see, who would have an example of how we console ourselves or someone else by devaluing pain, taking away its value? Yeah, Shiro.
Like vaccination. So you go under needle, but they will say the pain is nothing because it'll prevent you from dying from measles.
Okay, so you will take away the value of the pain, but there actually it's by giving, in a way, giving meaning. But in this giving meaning is true, there's a devaluation of the pain. But can someone have devaluation of the pain without in itself saying, okay, I think everybody knows common expression where mommy will say or daddy will say, you have in pain, say, this is nothing, just in itself, even without any promise or explanation, say, it's nothing, which means in your head, of course there is something, but by saying it's nothing, it means that your mind decides the value or the importance of this pain. And the person is inviting you to deconsider this pain, to deprive it of value or importance. In opposition to dramatizing the pain, you take away the value from it. Yeah? Okay, no problem with that. Yes, Marius?
Exactly on what you said, that it's nothing, but in general, we say, well, you make a service that requires painful or quite an effort from your side, and then you reply, well, thank you. Well, nothing. There is nothing.
But there's a thing, the meaning that I didn't do anything special for you, it's sort of normal. It's not connected to a pain here, is it?
An effort that, well, associated. Okay. I didn't, normally when you do something like quite effortless, and this is how it sounds like, yeah, nothing. So we devaluate it as a
okay. I get it. Through the concept of effort,
yeah,
which implies pain, I say that pain of the effort was nothing. Okay, all right. From that angle, yes, I get it. Yeah. Anybody else? No, we're good on that. Okay, fine. So let's move on to the other one. Action. Okay, that's a big one. One crucial way by which we take away the pain is by doing things, yes. And that's a very common practice. Now, I'm not speaking about doing in terms of because you want to do something, you go to work, yeah? But the idea of finding yourself some activity, something where you have existential pain, which you're felt with your boredom, with your nothingness, and you're going to find something to do. It doesn't matter what. You can dig holes and empty them. You're not concerned with the production of something. It's just the pure acting, because otherwise you're facing with a pain, some existential pain. So action as a way to console yourself. Yeah? Does anyone have a problem with action as a consolation? No? We're good? Okay. Yeah? And that's a very, very popular one, where we are ready for anything that would make us do something, no matter how insignificant, rather than facing ourselves. Because here action allows us to avoid this very important pain of contemplating the nothingness of our existence, which is a pain often ignored, but a very powerful pain. Yes. Okay, so. Okay, another form of consolation is retiring from the world, pulling away from the world. Because the world is a source of many pains. Yeah? Doing something in a way is more avoiding personal, intimate pain. But retiring from the world is more connected to escaping the pain connected to the world. People are unfair. People are not nice. The world is whatever, is cruel, right? So you retire from the world. That's what we do when we say, I'm going to go by the lake where there's nobody, or go walk by myself. Often nature is a place where we go to escape from the world, but it can be to go in your room, lock yourself up, and watch TV, read books, whatever, but something where you escape from the world, and avoid, because the world means pain. Yeah. So, yeah. Any comment about that? Consolation as escape from the world. Yes, Marie.
I'd like to know if drinking habits falls under action or retiring from the world.
Well, this one I put in a category that I'll have I call excitement. We want excitement. Yeah, when you drink, you want some form of excitement. But of course, but when you drink, you can drink. Often people don't like to drink alone. Yeah, most people. I mean, some people, yes, they hide, they drink, they retire from the world when they drink, but it's not contained in drinking that you want to retire from the world. There's no quest for isolation. Well, you forget it in a way, so they can overlap in that sense, yes. And what's the other one you proposed?
Action, doing things.
Yeah, but action, you see, you're still, I mean, of course you can do an action, but action, generally, you do something often with the world. See, it's not intrinsic to acting that you withdraw from the world. Now, if you stay at home and pick your nose all day long because you retire from the world, okay. But action, most of the time, there's still a connection to the world. Yeah. But of course, if you stay at home and do a crossword puzzle all day long, you say you're doing something. Okay, fine. Yeah. But don't forget, like I say, some of these things overlap, but they don't overlap. They can, but they don't necessarily do that. So action is not necessarily retiring from the world. In fact, most times you're connected to the world. And drinking, they try to escape reality, but often people, they want to be with other people who drink. Yeah. Did I answer your question?
Yeah.
Yes. Anything else? No? Good. Okay, let's look at the next one. Okay, next one is to fabricate or modify reality. Yeah. Now, this is a big category because I would put in there, for example, an artist. An artist is unsatisfied with the world, so he's going to create a world of his own. Be it a plastic artist doing painting or sculpture, even he makes a new world, or he embellishes the world. He's trying to modify or make the world. But as well, somebody who's fighting for justice, who suffers from injustice, is going to act to change the world. So any activity that has to do with changing or modifying the world, I put in this category of consoling yourself by compensating. You get pain from the ugliness or injustice in the world, you're going to try to modify it. Yeah. Any problem or comment about this big category? No? Yes, Marius?
Isn't here actually included lying to yourself?
Yeah, but then you're, I mean, yeah, but then you're stretching it. I think you're stretching it because you're using more words here to please yourself, but you're not modifying reality, or you more a perception. So you can call it like this, but I think you're stretching it a bit because it doesn't have the objective dimension. But yeah, you could pull it in that direction as a embellishing of the world. Yes. Okay. Fine. Yeah. But you see, Marius, when you take a category and you're stretching it, it becomes sort of another category, you see?
Yeah, but it was more going from fabricating.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what I call lying myself. I fabricate reality just to create that comfort of through lying myself.
This I would put more, yes, I mean, you can oscillate, but it comes that through words, you're going to please yourself. Yeah. The question is how objective is your transformation of the world. See, an artist, he produces a product. Somebody wants to fight justice, is going to change society. So I meant here actually have an action that does things, not simply please yourself. Yeah.
Yeah, I interpreted fabricating more like through a more ironic, like you fabricate stuff just to.
I understand.
I misinterpret the fabricating.
But those categories, it's true, they're not very ironical. When you make categories, they're supposed to be conceptual, when irony is trying to play on the putting together opposite things. So,
yeah, fair.
Please, irony. Okay, fine. Anything else on that? No? Yeah,
no,
yeah?
Which one? Isabel is on mute.
Isabel, put the microphone on.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I'm thinking about this last one because I will see two different things in the. It can be like about people who want to make revolution,
right?
So in that way, it would be a consolation. That means to change something to modify the reality of the world, but it can be as well for yourself. Like some people who don't like a reality, they modify it, but in their own scheme.
Yeah, but then the problem is that I have a further category. Then it's more you go, I call it psychology or spirituality, where you modify yourself. Yeah, so it's a bit different to modify the world and to modify yourself. I view it as two different things.
Okay, all right. So yeah. Even if it's about fabricating reality, but it's a different level, right?
Yeah, I view reality more as the world outside of yourself. Yeah. But yes, you can modify yourself. Yeah. I put it sort of as a. In fact, you can tell because that would be an opposition between spirituality and politics, for example. In politics, you want to change the world, when in spirituality, you want to change yourself, right? So here there can be opposition. In fact, some people in politics will say, well, what you're doing, you change yourself so you don't have to change the world, yeah? And on the reverse, people in spirituality say, well, you want to change the world, but the reality you should change is yourself. So here, yes, it can overlap, but still, they're two different things. Okay. We're good? Yeah. And in fact, that's what often spirituality and it goes up opposed to politics, for example. And that's why Marx would say that, religion is the opium of the people. Because it's easier to do something about your soul and work on your soul rather than working on society. Yeah. Good? Don't forget all these things, they have dialectical relationship. They can go together, but what I'm trying to do is things that don't necessarily go together. Yeah. Fine? Good? Okay. Something else on this? No? Changing the world? No. But if you notice, artists, there's a lot. You're trying to create a world on your own, because that's why it's called creative, because you're not satisfied with the world we have, yeah? Or minimally to embellish it, yeah? Okay, so then 12 is human relation. Human relation is a classical way by which we console ourselves. Now, of course, you tell me some people when they're suffering, they prefer to be on their own. That's true. That's one way of being. But very often when we feel, when we don't want to share, we want to share our pain, right? We're looking for people, yeah? Or even because people have the same pain as us, we feel better through sharing, right? It's the Alcoholic Anonymous principle. It's not simply about fighting the thing, but about feeling better about it, because you have the impression you're not the only one having a particular pain. Or as well, I know some people who are very addicted to going out with other people. They have their existential pain, to be alone, their boredom, their feeling of nothingness. So what do? They look for friends, and then they go out and have a drink together, or go together to the movies, right? Or it can be as well looking for a couple, for a partner, a love partner, yeah, which of course has another dimension. One dimension of it is I need the other, I feel bad by myself, the other will give me value. And that's when you get even people that live through proxy, they live through someone else, my husband, my wife, my children. I need other people as a way to console myself. Because through the relation, if other people look for me, I have value. By myself, I have no value. So relation as a way to console ourselves. Anything about that? No? We're good? Okay, all right. Okay, 13 is passion. Spinoza has this interesting idea that you can only replace a passion with a passion. And what's nice is that passion has a double meaning, because passion comes from patio, which means to suffer. But suffer as well means to undergo. So there can be pain or no pain. So if we have a pain, we'll try to find a passion that will make us forget the pain. For example, if you have pain about something in your life, you will fall in love. And this love will be stronger than your particular pain, and you will forget your pain. Yeah? As well, we see people who are passionate about something, about collecting stamps or whatever you want. Their passion of collecting stamps will make them forget the little pain, the fact their wife abandoned them, yeah, because they're passionate about collecting stamps. I remember once an African philosopher who's passionate about Plato told me, my wife abandoned me because she said I preferred Plato. And it didn't seem to bother him very much, because his passion was Plato, and his wife abandoned him was secondary to his passion for Plato. So passion is something that consoles us when we find it. And in fact, sometimes we tell people, you should find a passion as a way to deal with the pain or the nothingness of their existence. Passion is a good way to avoid nothingness. So passion as consolation. Any problem about that? No? No, we're good. Okay. Okay, 14 is excitement. Okay, we look for excitement, because one of the most crucial pain we have is boredom. And the feeling of boredom is one of the worst feelings, or the feeling of nothingness. It's very close, boredom and nothingness, because in boredom, there's nothing interesting. Yeah. And so people look for excitement. It doesn't matter what kind of excitement. Now here you see you can find passion as an excitement, but I view excitement, I distinguish it a bit, maybe in a certain way as a construction, because you're not going to say somebody's passionate about drinking. You would say he's addicted, because we view something pathological about it. But we look for excitement. It can be a product. It can be a product like alcohol or drugs. It can be an activity like gambling, or today apparently pornographic addiction is getting apparently quite strong because of the easy access to pornography on internet. So yes, so you can have it's a form of excitement, but it can be partying, it can be seduction, you know, seduction, the Don Giovanni syndrome. So excitement, yeah. Now I say excitement because, see, passion can be sustained. You can have a passion for philosophy or for nature or for collecting stuff, can be sustained. Excitement in general has a hard time be sustained. And you see people where excitement, if you're excited about gambling, but if you go to a casino, you will look at people and you will see more sadness than not be sustained. Excitement is stronger and stronger, but at that point becomes very difficult. Same with drug addiction. The excitement becomes more and more difficult. Either you produce boredom or you produce counter effect, like cocaine, for example. You know, unlike drinking, you won't produce boredom, but you'll produce counter excitement, which you'll start getting nightmares or see horrible things and stuff like that. Yeah. So excitement is something that functions rather momentarily, but after that starts becoming problematic. It cannot be. You cannot maintain excitement. Yeah, there are certain type of emotion, but still, or people at less pathological form is life is hard, but in the weekend I can go to the beach or whatever, right? It's a form of excitement. You know, I can get something more exciting because life is boring or life is painful. Yeah. So anything, or people that live waiting for retirement, that's going to be exciting. Or we're waiting for holidays. Yeah. So excitement is a form of consolation. Any problem with that? No, nothing. Good. Okay. Or you're getting tired. It's almost finished. It's almost finished. Excitement. Okay, violence. Violence is a form of consolation. Yeah. Now, it might not speak to you who are, I see, I imagine rather peaceful, peaceful people. Otherwise, you would not be in a philosophy workshop. But for people, some people, especially, you know, people in a very deprived social environment, violence is a fundamental, very important way to console yourself from the difficulty in your life. Yeah, but as well, even in very educated people, violence at home. Yeah, and violence against your partner, against your family, can be a way you console yourself. To be a little family tyrant is a way you can console yourself from the harshness of life. Yeah. So violence can be actually ritualized, like in SM sadomasochistic practices. Yeah, it's a form of violence. It's violence, it's excitement, but still there's a violent. It's excitement because excitement not necessarily violent, but is this violence as a way, violence on the other, violence on yourself, by the way. People who practice self-mutilation, teenagers that have a problem, who hurt themselves, who cut themselves, who burn themselves, it sounds strange, but it's a way to get some excitement. Yes. Anything about excitement? No? We're good? Okay. Okay. Next one is life. I put together life and body. I don't know, you know, something where you go, life is hard, so you go toward something more biological, like a life for the body. And people that will either the body as aesthetic, you know, I work on myself, make myself beautiful, put tattoo on my body, put piercing on my body, but do something in my body. I take a lot of care of my body. As a way of consolation. My mind is not so happy, but I'll take care of my body. It can be an aesthetic dimension of the body. I oppose that to beauty because you work directly on yourself. But as well, it can be working on your body, like doing physical exercise or taking walks. Although here in long walks, they can be your body, but they can be as well a connection to nature, but still it's a connection to life. Yeah. And I put life here as anything biological, in anything that would be non-biological, that has nothing to do with immediate biological activity. And for many people, nature indeed is the place to say, oh, I say, what is good in your life? When I go in nature. And when you go, nature is the connection to life. Yeah? So life as disconnected from either from psychological or from activity or from connection. Yeah. So body and life. I still have doubts that I should leave them together, but for now I put them together. Is a form of consolation, yes. And today there are a lot of activities, new type of self-development of therapies that are very connected to, I know someone I went to spend a week where you just, with your body, you don't speak, you just connect to your body as a form of consolation. A lot of New Age practices are into that because they view the thinking as being bad because thinking is worried, so you connect to your body. Yes. Anything about that? No? No? Okay. Then next one, 17, is is about doing good or morality. Yes. Being moral. Yeah. So life is hard, it's painful, but I'm going to feel good because in all this, I'm going to do good. I'm going to be a moral person. Yeah. Or I'm going to impose morality on people. Yeah. So morality, and that's what actually Nietzsche criticized, that through morality, you want to feel good. You want to be a good person. And by being a good person, you console yourself from the pain and evils of this world. So morality as a way for feeling good. Anything about that? No? Okay. And in fact, morality sometimes can even mean that you're going to suffer to be moral. And that's, again, we'll go back to the idea of finding, you create meaning for pain. But the whole point here is by doing good, by being moral, you suffer less. 18 is religion. Okay, the big classic. Why do we invent religion? All these religion. Well, because to have a chaotic world, to have a world that has no explanation is painful, psychologically painful. To have bad things happening to us without being able to give reasons to it, without being able to give meaning to it, without understanding it, right? Think of the poem of Job, where people try to give understanding to his suffering, right? So religion is a classical way by which we console ourselves, and as well because there'll be a life after, for example, or life before. So religion is a very classical way by which we feel better. Yes. Good. Anything there? No, it's rather clear. 19 is psychology and spirituality. I put them together because they're very connected. Psychology is from the psyche, from the soul, the science of the what animates us, anima, what animates us. Spirituality is it's in between religion and psychology. I put it on psychology because today a lot of the spirituality wants to be godless or religionless, you know? But it's basically all kind of techniques that are working on your soul, on your, and I will oppose it later to reason, which is more cognitive. Those practices are not so much about cognitive. They work more on the attitude, the way you relate to yourself, the way you behave, to be calm, for example, to work on the calmness, to work on the acceptance, to work on, It's not so much about producing ideas like there is in reason, but more how you relate to yourself. So psychology, and it can be It can be a purely therapeutic thing, like in psychology, where you have a patient, but it can draw what today is called self-development. It's more like gymnastics. It's like more gymnastics, like you would go to do gymnastics. You exercise your soul, your mind, to alleviate the pain. Yes. So, any meditation for me, I would put in this category. Okay. So, any question on psychology and spirituality? Or comment? No, we're good. Okay. Then I have the last one, which I call reason. It's the activity of reason, which we find in philosophy, but it can take other form. But here, the difference with spirituality is that you want to produce ideas, you want to use that to understand the world. I mean, it can be doing science, for example, except doing science doesn't work so directly on yourself, but still. But any activity connected to a reason, but it has to be connected to production of concept, production of explanations. Yes. So that's it. We went through the 20 categories. I think, as a very subjective thing, I ended up with those three because I think these are the three that sort of works the best. I think the most efficient are religion, psychology, spirituality, and reason. These, I think, are the most efficient one. The one which have the less drawbacks, the one that can be the most efficient, can be more self-sustained by experience. Yes. Others will have more drawbacks, I think. But anyway, but I'm not going to go into that. But if you want to do something, I recommend the last three if you want to have a more efficient consolation. But it's a very subjective statement to end up with. Yes, so is there any comment or question on the overall idea? Yes, Marius?
One quick comment on the 17, I think you said doing good.
That's 17, yes, morality, yes.
Yeah, actually there is the opposite of doing bad, and that's revenge, which is, I think a major way of consolation. We use it really much as a consolation engine.
Okay, but this I would put in violence. You want to hurt, right? So for me, it would go in violence.
Yes, no, not necessarily physical, any kind of revenge. Just you have the other one will suffer as well. Sort of.
You agree that revenge is a form of violence? I don't care if it's physical or moral, but it's a form of violence. You want to hurt someone.
Yeah, but even if only like, I wish the other one, the neighbor goat will die.
Okay, but if you wish,
it's a sort of consolation.
But Marius, something you get a bit confused, you know that?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, revenge is an action, okay? Okay, you do something and you want to hurt someone, you agree?
Yeah, and that's
okay. And it's violence, yeah? And violence can be moral as well. Can be moral or physical. It doesn't matter. Somebody who wants to psychologically, a boss that wants to psychologically torture his people on his subordinates. I mean, it's violence, and he's happy of torturing. He has the power of so revenge, something similar. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then violence is permanent insatisfaction, which is not so much the case in doing good.
Yeah, the consolation more, it was about the other one will suffer as well, or wishing the other one as a consolation. That's saying that hope the neighbor's goat will die.
Okay, yeah, but if you wish, you are into fabricating something with words. Yeah, violence is an action. Then you invent, and it's something else. You fabricate what you call lying to yourself. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Something else? No? Okay. Do you have any general comment on all this? You found your consolation? I don't know. Are you raising your hand, Isabelle, or no? Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I was waiting for some people to raise their hands before doing it. So,
well, Simon made a vow of silence. It's forbidden for his religion to say anything, so otherwise he's going to go to hell. So, I'm telling you, don't wait for him to say something. So, Isabelle, you want to make a general comment?
Yeah, I found very interesting because consolation usually I think just something as something good, you know, you're going to do to console yourself. But there were also like some, I would say more negative aspect which can be used as consolation. And it was really surprising, you know, like about violence, it was strange for me at the beginning. Or when you talk about nostalgia, you know, like to think this stuff, you know, as more like something that we say forbid you to go. Well, I cannot speak anymore in English, but I mean something that's going to forbid you to go ahead. You know, consolation. It's supposed to help you to go up. You know, it consoles you, but at the same time you advance. But some of them, like nostalgia or violence, it's more like you regress. Tu regress.
I think that's because it's a subjective statement what you just made, you know? You know, right? Because you can decide that you want to go to war, violent, yeah? You want to go to war, yeah? You're going to be violent. I mean, I don't see why that would be regression. And I don't see why when you're old and you want to think about the good moments of your life, I don't see why you would call that regression. Why do you call that regression?
Because you don't go nowhere with that, you know?
Yeah, but that's because you want to go somewhere. So that means you are into action as consolation. That's all it says, yeah? That means you're active and not contemplative, but it sort of more shows about you who you are more than the objective dimension of it. Yeah? I think to be able to view the past as still being present is a very beautiful and powerful idea. That you have known something beautiful and it's always there, it's always present. I think it's a beautiful idea, no?
Yes, no, it is beautiful, but to see it as a consolation.
Well, beauty is a form of consolation. But you notice here that your subjective dimension of your comment, or no?
Yeah. No,
sure, you still, 1 minute before you die, you'll still want to do something. Okay, why not? If it's possible. Yeah. But suppose you are in a wheelchair and you cannot move anymore, I recommend to you some good nostalgic moments. Otherwise, you're going to really suffer. Yeah. But anyway, I don't wish you, but yeah. No, these things, of course, some, I recommend the last three more than the excitement of getting drunk, you know. But sometimes when you have a hard time, go have a drink. Not bad, no? You ever knew this, where you had a hard time, you have a drink and
that's
some,
right.
Yeah, it's a consolation, right?
Yeah, but the next day is terrible, so better do something.
No, it's not because you drink that the next day it's terrible. It's you have to know how to do it, yeah? Right? So these, it's very much, see, I think that's a key determination for the value of consolation is what is their capacity of autonomy they give you? What is their, are they rather self-sufficient or, you know, can they maintain themselves in time? Yeah. And how much they involve the whole being or only part of it. For example, that people that run to console themselves, well, they cannot run all day. You know, they have to stop running. So they can run once a day and they console themselves 1 hour per day, for example, but the rest of the day don't. See, that's the problem. So here you have to see what is the permanence of this consolation, how much you can maintain it. Yeah. And same with excitement. And that doesn't mean you should not run. Why not? Yeah. But the idea is all these different consolation have their, let's call it the pros and cons. Same with the reason. Reason, if you have strong physical problem, I don't know how much reason can help you to not suffer. Yeah. So plus as well, you can negate your body. So there's no absolute consolation, but some, let's say, are more powerful than others. But they all have some kind of power. Yeah. You know. And even violence. Didn't you think someday that some person was really horrible would get a punch in the nose? You would think, wow, that would improve the ozone hole. No? You know, we all have these violent impulsions and we think that would be healthy. No? Yeah. Good?
Yeah, good, yeah.
Okay. And Simon disappeared. Okay. Okay, fine. Anything else? Good. Well, if you guys have nothing else, you have enough now to console yourself, I hope. If you find a new consolation, just let me know. Otherwise, good. All right, good. So see you some other time then. Bye-bye.